Hello, 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 and thank you again so much for tuning into the Mobility Bros. As you can tell by the opening, my co-host Ron is on a wonderful vacation with his wife that is way overdue. And so we wish you, Ron and wifey, a wonderful, easy, and fun vacation at your remote location with your friends. And we can't wait to see you next week and talk more with you. I'm really, really blessed today because I have a good friend of mine, Jordan Edwards, and I want to tell you a little bit about him. But before I do that, you know the deal here. We talk about athletic mindset, mobility, the pain reduction, thoughts and processes of practitioners, and the mindsets of clients and the mindsets of members, right? That's what we do here on Mobility Bros. Today, Jordan Edwards is one of the top 1% podcasts with over 100 episodes, including, but not excluding, talking with the founder of Reebok. What? He also has an episode with Lee Steinberg, the man that said, "Show me the money." You know, that whole movie that was built around Jerry Maguire? Yeah, that Lee Steinberg. He's interviewed both of them and many more. He is also the owner and founder of Edwards Consulting. Definitely look into more about that. We can't wait to hear more about that. This guy has traveled 30 countries and he's also completed a New York Marathon. Jordan Edwards, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great, Cliff. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, my friend. All right, so there's so much that I want to break down and talk with you about. Let's talk about your podcast for a little bit and what you've done to elevate yourself to do all of that. Over 100 episodes, interviewing top talent, some of the biggest people we know in our industries, whether it's the sports industry, the fashion and clothing line. How did you get there? What made you believe in yourself to do it? And how did you inspire yourself to keep going?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So for me, I was actually starting back back 2020. I was doing 75 hard because every 3 months I would do an activity that I was like, wow, this would be really challenging and this would be the most impactful over the next 3 months. So me and my buddy Franz Bernard, shout out, we were doing 75 hard. And what ended up happening was with 75 hard, it's Andy Frisella's program. It's no drinking, 75 days, two workouts a day, 45 minutes inside, 45 minutes outside. You got to read 10 pages of a personal development book. You got to drink a gallon of water and a clean diet and no alcohol. So it's not the easiest task. But what it did was it kind of opened me up to different opportunities. So one Saturday, we're like, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's go to the Naples airplane show. If you've ever been to Naples, it's a very, very small airport. We got to go in, we got to see what the private jets look like. It was an incredible experience. And on our way out, we go inside and there is a Vietnam War museum. And I go, what is going on here? And this guy, the tour guide, he was like, you gotta see this. You gotta learn about this dude. And he's pointing and it's an article. So I started reading about it. And that guy was Wayne Ogden Smith. And he was a prisoner of war during the Vietnam War for 7 years. I was like, whoa, this guy's incredible. And he goes, this is me. This is me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, that's so incredible. And in that moment, I just said, hey, I have a podcast and I'd love for you to be on it. I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have anything. I'm just like, let's do it. Let's do it. Because the thing is, there's so many times where we just have to take advantage of the opportunity. We just have to fall into it. We have to jump in. And that's what I ended up doing. And for that was in February. I didn't release a podcast until like June, July, because I was just interviewing people in person and just using my cell phone. And I was just going through this experience of what is this going to be? Where is this going to start? What am I doing? And then when COVID hit, it was a no brainer for me because everyone was going remote. And I thought, why not present them with an opportunity to speak on a stage like this? And that's why we're in Clif. You were like, come on the Mobility Bros. I'm like, absolutely. Let's do it. Because it provides such an opportunity, especially with the remote environment we're in. We can take advantage of this. And most people aren't thinking about that.
That is wonderfully said. I mean, when I really listen to what you've been able to accomplish, You just said, screw it. Like, this is something that I believe I want to do. And in that moment, you were like, this is a way. It just hit you like a genius thought, like an artist would see an image. You were like, this is it. And you rolled with it. And even though you took a long time to release it, you didn't stop. And all you had was your cell phone.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason I didn't release it was because I didn't. So the thing that happens with most podcasts, and people don't realize this, is that if someone gets most podcasts fail by the time their eighth episode happens because people are like, I didn't make money, I'm losing money, I don't know how to do this, how does this work? And that's what
Mm,
happens with most podcasts. So for me to avoid that being part of that statistic, I was like, I'm just going to record 8 episodes. So I'm like, I'm going to record these episodes with these different
smart.
people. I don't know who I'm going to meet, but if I have at least, if I post one podcast a month, and if I have 8 podcasts loaded up, that is 2 months worth of content. Can I find another guest? Absolutely. And that's the thought process where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I at least have one new podcast to come out each week, which will be 2 months worth of podcasts, and I'll find someone else. So that's why I wanted to start with that. And yeah, people try to go super expensive. You just need a ring light. I'm on my phone right now. I am on my cell phone right now. This guest helped me make this background. I am all about let's try to keep it as low cost as possible. And you just get like a hosting platform that's like $25 a month and you can upload 6 episodes. Like
Wow.
it it just, yeah, people try to overdo this with the nice things and the nice this, and I'm like, I'm good. And
Yeah, you don't overcomplicate things. And can you tell me if that 75 hard was a way that helped you kind of frame the mindset you had around the work you started doing? And what was the book that you were reading 10 pages of? Because I've seen it, I've seen clients and people try it. I've seen them restart over and over. Day 5, day 7, day 12, sometimes day 27, they'll be in it and they have to restart. And they're like, I forget, I'm just gonna keep going. And like, they make little tweaks or they bend the rules a little bit or they compromise. And the question is that integrous or not? We could talk about that later, but they do compromise because they want to just get to 75. How did you handle the weight of being responsible for that for yourself?
yeah, so I mean, that's a really good question. And the way I did this was I had my buddy Franz. So me and him were doing it together. So
Accountability.
we had each other to be accountable. And I remember we did it for like maybe the first week. And the way we would do it is we'd go to the gym in the morning at like 5:30 in the morning, and then we would get there at 6, work out till 7, and then one day he calls me and he goes, Jordan, I watched this video of how people are waking up at 4 a.m. Let's go crazy. Why don't we wake up at 4 a.m. meet at the gym at 5? And I was like, oh, well, we could do like 15 minutes back each week, get used to it. He's like, no, like, let's rip the band-aid off. Let's just do it. Because what people don't realize is you have to drink a gallon of water and a workout and all of this. If you get up earlier, then you can get this done. And that was kind of the consistency that helped me do it, because what I was doing, I was measuring and monitoring myself. I would measure these activities, and by the time the day starts at 8, 9 a.m., I've already gotten a workout in. I've already drank my water. I probably already might have done like a 45-minute walk already. Like, we were doing everything we could to get everything knocked out as early as possible, because when you really drop off, and the thing I found where most people cheat or struggle is it's falling to peer pressure, or it's, hey, we didn't actually come in this with a plan, and now we're just trying to do 10 extra activities, and our day feels overwhelmed and we're stressed out.
Mm.
And it's like, how do you remove that stress? It's by giving yourself more time. So I would literally read in the morning from 4 to 4:45, go to the gym, then we're working out. And it's like, if you can plan your life and get really intentional about everything you're doing, it makes a massive difference, in my opinion. And that's what helped me. And like you brought up, Cliff, I was at that opportunity. I was at that place where I was receptive to new ideas. I was in that mindset because, hey, we're almost 30 days into this thing at that moment. And it's like, how are you not going to come up with a cool idea? Like, how are these ideas not going to happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something where I'm like, you're searching for something, and you got to be ready for it.
That's
It's
beautiful.
definitely, yeah.
What was the book you were reading at 4 in the morning?
So I mean, there were a couple different books, and I'm looking at the bookshelf right now, but like some of the ones I read were like The Magic of Thinking Big, 0 to 1, Tony Robbins' Money Master the Game, The Millionaire Next Door. And
Mm.
it's not even about the book. Like the books are one thing, but it's that habit of reading. That habit, like right now I'm actually doing I'm reading this book, Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't, but I'm interested.
Okay, so it's basically these 10 scrolls. And like I'm saying this so the audience can hear it too. It's legitimately this story about how this guy is looking, it's like back, I want to say 2000 years, and it's him trying to be a successful person. And he's in I forget the exact location, but he's trying to like figure out like what life is and how to be successful. And they write down these 10 scrolls, and each scroll is a new habit. So right now I'm doing 75 hard once a month for a week. So I literally do the 75 hard activities for the week each month. And when I was doing this, I'm like, oh, I gotta read a book, I gotta do something. And I just picked up this book because you read scroll marked one, and like the ruling of the scroll is to read it every day, morning, lunch, and night.
Mm.
So I'm following this, and you develop this habit of reading, and you're like, dude, I'm winning.
Yeah.
Like, how am I not winning? It's because I have the consistency. And even I had a Brad Lee on the podcast, and he talks about this. He's like, your self-worth is all about you saying, I am okay. Like, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. That's it. And the more times you can be consistent with yourself, the more confidence you'll get,
Mm.
because you know you'll get it done.
You've hit so many important nails. Please, if you've done 75 hard and you want to put something in the comments to share your experience, we'd love to see what you have to say. Write it down, please, guys. We want to know your experience with this. What books have you been reading? Have you read any of the books that Jordan just shared? And are they books that you love to communicate about and talk about and share stories of because it's helped change your life or help change your mindset? Because everything is building around the mindset, right? 75 hard, believing he can do the podcast, doing the research to know after people quit after 8, so knocking out 2 months of content ahead of time, so he didn't have to think about it. All he had to think about is just the next one, that next foot forward. Interviewing amazing people. You just dropped a couple more names that were on your podcast, so uh, exciting stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about your consulting business?
Yeah. So basically what ended up happening was I went to the Cardone conference, Grant Cardone's Growth Con, like, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. It was when it was at Miami Stadium. So me and a couple buddies, we were like bootstrapping it.
Nice.
We're like, it's literally week of, and we're like how much are tickets? Like we can get in for 100. We can get in the stadium for $100. All right, we gotta go. So we go. We end up getting these like little rinky-dink hotels, and we go there. And the thing I learned about was there's 35,000 entrepreneurs here, and everyone is just trying to sell me something. And I'm like, what is going on here? And it was this interesting concept of like, and to back note that in 2019 I set a goal of running a marathon, completing all 4 sections of the CPA, and starting a business. I just didn't know what that business would be.
Ah.
And what happened was when I went to this conference, I had kind of an eye-opening moment where I'm like, damn, Jordan, you got to sell something. Sell something. and I'm like, what am I gonna sell? So I told a couple friends about it, and I'm like, dude, I need to, like, I graduated with an honors and accounting degree, so I knew numbers, and like one of the first things for me was student loans. And I basically looked at my student loans, and I realized that with the interest rates and how everything's were going, that they don't want, like, basically what ended up happening is I have 4 loans. And with these 4 loans, I realized that they wanted me to pay off the 3 smallest loans first, let the largest one accumulate at the
Ah.
highest interest rate. And once I realized that, I'm like, yo, that is totally worth $50. Like that knowledge right there is worth $50. So I told this kid, I told one of my best friends, Jack, and he introduced me to another person. And he's like, dude, I have a lot of student loans. Can you please look at this? So we met, and I'm like, how do I provide value for this kid? So I'm like, I mean, you could do that, but financials is kind of a scary topic. So I'm like, why don't we talk about like mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships? Like, take a screenshot of where they're at today, and then we'll dive into the finances. Because here's the thing: if you're not mentally there, and like the show, if you're not physically there, those are coupled so closely together that it can damage your mindset. And we want that operating at the highest level. So it came down to, I started doing this, and I realized quickly with people that I was like, yo, this is valuable. Like they're sitting here going, yo, this is cool, Jordan. Like I'm learning a lot about myself, but I'm also learning about these other things. Like the first person I met, if he followed through with what we were going to do, it was going to save him tens of thousands of dollars, and he's getting this for $50. I'm like, come on, man, that's a good deal. So
Yeah.
then basically what ended up happening was I was doing these one-on-ones. Now it's converted to a group where we meet on Monday nights, and we talk about these different ideas and premises, and just, it's honestly looking for that holistic perspective and being able to measure, monitor, and be accountable to the goals that we want in our lives to create the lives we want.
Yeah. That's huge. So you've taken everything that you've built, you went to this thing in Miami, figured out how to get in with some friends, got the super value out of it, turned that into something to sell because you're like, why is everybody selling me something? And you said, how do I add value and make sure I bring the value? And that tied into what you're doing with your podcast, has created this whole ecosystem and platform now, and it's created consistency. And even the 75 hard is still there even after 3 years, because COVID is, it's, although it feels so present, it's like a distant memory at the same time. Some people
Yeah.
have lost a couple of years because of it. And now it brings us all the way back to the marathon. So you said, I'm going to do a New York City marathon. Is that the one you wanted to do? Is that like the goal? Or, and what did you do to train for it? How was your mindset? Because, we talk about the mindset of clients and members. How was your mindset around the marathon? How did you train for it? And what was it that you enjoyed about it? I'm really interested to know.
Yeah. So let's go back 2019. This is like when I had that 3 goals. And I want to note the CPA, like the business I started, Edwards Consulting, we're still here.
Let's
Fantastic.
go. Let's go.
The
We're
the
riding.
no, it is cool. That's cool. The CPA, I literally took 2 of the sections and failed them. And I say this because it's okay to bring up your failures.
Yeah.
No one's perfect.
Yeah.
And then at that moment when I started doing the coaching thing, I was like, wait, I enjoy this exponentially more than this 3 letters. My brother ended up getting the 3 letters, so that's good enough. So someone's got him in the family, which is good. And then I was like, yo, I want to run this marathon. And at that point, I've only ran like 5 miles or 6 miles once. And what we did was I basically started training, and I got up to running 7 miles a week. Like, so I would run a 7-mile run. And basically what you do is you start off with like 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles. And the crazy thing that most people don't realize is that when they're training, everyone always, like, if you run with someone who doesn't run a lot, what they'll do in the first mile is they'll sprint. They'll go, dude, 8-minute mile. And you sit there and you're like, that's cool, but like, you're going to burn out, man. Like I ended up choosing the Lake Tahoe Marathon back in 2019, and then the New York City Marathon me and my brother did, and we raised $8,000 for colon cancer in 2021. And the reason I did these is because it challenged me. It pushed me to a different level, and it caused me to like want to see what the body can do, see what my mind can do, and really push me to a different area. But the misleading thing that a lot of people don't understand is that you say, oh, was the marathon the big day? Yes, the marathon was fun. That was great. But it's the consistency of training, getting up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. to go run 20 miles on a Thursday because you don't want to do it at nighttime before you start work. And you're like, dude, that's 3.5 hours of running. Like, that's a lot of running. Like, that's a lot of
Yeah,
running.
that's the
And like,
commitment.
yeah, and you just sit there, and I would tell people, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. Like, I literally ran 20 miles this morning. And they're like, how'd you do that? And it's like, it's such a mind-blowing thing that it's like, whoa, maybe I have to do more mind-blowing things. Like, what else would be cool? What
Mm,
else would be interesting? And we can do all of these. Like, a lot of these things we can do.
mm.
And it's just putting ourselves in the headspace to take this on.
I love how you broke it down, and I do this with my clients that want to be runners. Sometimes we have to even go back to practicing what it looks like to run flat-footed, run on your heels, run on the ball of your feet, and like see where they're at. Do they have like flat arches? Do they have a high arch and they don't know how to use it? Are they overextending and burning themselves out because they don't understand pacing? And a lot of people are so intimidated, right? And then next thing you know, when they learn, they want to be an Ironman, and now they're running, swimming, and biking and doing all sorts of crazy stuff, or boxing and stuff like that, and just changing their lives and their fitness and their activity because they enjoy it. And I love how you said that was the thing that you had to do. Pace yourself, recognize that, and get up early. That's the theme, right? You've had to find time within the 24 hours of the day. And if it wasn't the end of the day and you're pushing it into 1, 2, 3 in the morning, which can make the next day slow and soggy, you're finding it earlier. And it was ripping the band-aid off every time, right? Whether it was the marathon training in 2019, getting to the podcast in 2020 and being like, I have a podcast, and just going for it with it 75 hard and getting up with your friend and having that accountability partner. And it also sounds like you've always had some type of accountability partner, maybe not a coach or a trainer, but an accountability partner that helped you get to that next level, who was there by your side with you. So when it was harder days, you can lean on them. And when they had hard days, they can look at you, and you guys inspired each other. Is that something that I'm seeing and hearing?
Well, that definitely happened for the 75 hard with Franz. And then the really interesting thing is that it's cool. The way you said that was the way you described that, what went to my head instantly is I would do that, the mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships, which are the 5 pillars. I would do this screenshot of myself where I basically look at it and read it over and basically set my goals for that month or whatever it may be. And my accountability was myself. Like, I would hold myself to it. But the thing that people don't realize is that the 5 people they spend the most time with are the ones they become the most like. And that's why I do the podcast, because I get to meet awesome people. I get to have these cool conversations. You get reflective. You're learning about it. And like, it's just so much fun to do this kind of stuff. And Cliff, like, for the audience to realize, you were just describing things about my feet. I have no idea. I ran 2 marathons and I have no idea what you're talking about. So I probably improved drastically from that.
Yeah, well, your timing could definitely improve, and just the physical wear and tear could probably improve with a little bit of coaching on that end, because that's where, you find the experts to help improve if this is something you really find you want to do. I'm really blessed to be, you heard earlier before we got on the call, connected with this woman named Wendy, and she's doing Team Jamaica reggae marathon. And there's going to be a 5K, a 10K, and a full marathon in Jamaica in December. And we're putting a boot camp together for it so we can start training people. And we're going to have people come out and do the marathon. And then it's going to be tied to some real estate stuff and things like that for the island of Jamaica. It's close to my heart because my mother's Jamaican and I've been in the island as a 10-year-old and lived there all summer. So I know how important it is to go back and give back. And during COVID, my mom was going back and flying during COVID to help educate us. She's a nurse and an RN, now an LPN RN. And she was just going back and just working and doing what she could during this time. She's like the warrior, in war times for us. And it just was an amazing experience. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your experience. Leave the audience with something tangible that you've learned that they can hold on to, something that, you've given so much value. I'm really honored because I didn't have to speak much this podcast. I just got to listen to your story, and we've talked a ton, and I still am amazed by what you're able to do and how you're able to frame your mindset And this is the first time you really broke down the 5 pillars for me. And I see those pillars as something very, very tangible and real. So is there something you want to leave the audience with about what you're able to accomplish or what you were able to do, and give them something that they can take home, they can write down, they can start to practice?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that it comes down to starting whatever it is you want to do, whether that's a podcast, whether that's running a marathon, whether that's a big goal, whatever that goal may be. I would say start, and it becomes incredible after you've been doing it for a long magnitude of time. Like, for example, the podcast is, I think we released our 111th episode. Some people would go, how do you even do that? That makes no sense. We've been posting for the past 2.5 years. You get it done. It takes time, but you have to work on it. So whatever your goal is, I would say start today and do baby action steps to increase that, and it will help you drastically.
Mm. And to lean onto that, I would say don't worry about your follow count. Don't worry about your likes and your hearts and all these social media dopamine hits, right? Because the most important thing is what you're getting for yourself. You know, Jordan figured out outside of the world of media what he needed to do with the 75 hard. That was personal. You know, that was for him. It wasn't for him to get shredded. It was for him to build a consistency, and the benefits like dessert was the shreddedness, the weight management, the ability to have more endurance, the better heart health, the better health inside, right? And doing the marathons, he learned patience with himself. He learned how to get up early and started picking up these practices of millionaires and billionaires. And that's why he's become so successful. And the consistency is what created the top 1%, right? It wasn't the, oh man, I did it and it didn't hit the way I wanted it to hit. We're very early in our podcast, and it's okay if 20 people see this year and 1,000 people see it next year and 1,000,000 people see it 5 years from now, because you're creating value that is evergreen, that is everlasting for people. You know, I hope my kids and grandkids get a chance to watch back and see what dad was able to do, and the really cool people dad got to meet in his life and grandpa got to meet in his life. And look how slim and sexy he looks with this guy Jordan over here looking sharp, and all the great things that can come from it. So if you are going to start building content, creating content, and you've been trying to figure out how to do it since 2020 when everyone had an opportunity to get back online, get your phone out, get your ring light, trust yourself. It doesn't have to be fancy or expensive. If you're looking to do a marathon and you want some help, put that down in the comments. You can reach out to me. If you're interested in what Jordan has to do with the 5 pillars, Jordan, how do they find you? How do they connect with you so that they can reach out to you personally?
Yeah, so it's you can shoot me an email at jordan@edwards.consulting. And if you reach out, we can definitely include you in a complimentary group coaching where you can check out the group, see what it's like, see what it's all about. And I'd love for you to, it'd be awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll make sure to put all that in the description. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being here today. Man, we could talk for much longer. Ron, you missed a good episode, bro. You missed a good episode, but you'll be able to see it, and I'm sure you're going to write some things in the description and comment about it, and we'll talk about it in the next episode. Thank you so much for being in the Mobility Bros. And like Ron would say, stay awesome, stay in your greatness, and be legendary. We're out.